Hello and welcome. It's barely a month since government reopened borders, and already trade experts are making an urgent call to deal with all existing challenges impeding trade activity across the transit corridors and borders of Ghana and her West African neighbors. Joining me to discuss is National President of Cross-Border Trade Advocacy Group Borderless Alliance, Zayad Hamoui. We're grateful, Zayad, that you could join us at this short notice. First of all, to lay this in context, Zayad, touch on the ordeal traders suffered during the travel restrictions at the borders.
Well, thank you, Charles. And indeed, it is a morale booster when we start to move across the borders, because obviously when people move, trade will move, an exchange of knowledge takes place, and we are social beings. So now that we have finally came to reckon with the health situation, this time to get to the economic questions and the challenges. And it is true that even before COVID started, there were challenges plying the movement of cargo and people across corridors in West Africa. And that has been adding cost to doing business and increasing the times of moving across corridors.
Indeed, but beyond the reopening of borders, there remain several trading blocks hindering the easy flow of goods across the SAP region. What exactly are they?
Absolutely. I mean, I can summarize as much as I can in view of the fact of the ongoing fasting and feeling myself a little bit under the weather at the moment. So what I can summarize is 3 points. The first one is the lack of adequate infrastructure that connect African countries together. The roads, the borders, some of the ports in the region. I mean, in Ghana, you might have adequate infrastructure in areas. In other areas, it might not be that adequate. But then it tallies up, because when you are trading across borders from one country to the other, you need to have, first of all, the infrastructure in place. Now, the second point has to do with the interconnectivity of our trading system. And that is, for example, the customs which communicate across countries. If you originate your goods from Ghana and then you terminate in Togo, and then once you cross from Ghana with your ICOM systems and you move into Togo, customs clearance, and you find out that it's not actually connected to your system, you have to go through the process again. That is a double cost and double handling. It adds up to the cost and to the time of business. And then there are some points that have to do with the lack of enforcement of the implementation of regional regulations across ECOWAS. And you know, for example, that we have our regional West African Trade Facilitation Agreement is called the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, or ETLS. And ETLS is an agreement that has been around for quite some time, although it wasn't implemented as effectively as we would like it to be, and allows registered users and economic operators to move locally originating goods duty-free and quota-free. What happens at the moment is that there are some countries where the jurisdiction is disputed and there are certain complaints, and then you get to a point where you want to move your complaint across, and you find out that there are no clear dispute resolution mechanisms. Because of the fact that when the founding members, the heads of states of ECOWAS, founded ECOWAS at the time, they agreed that they will avoid dispute settlements and rigorous procedures because we have others assistance, and so you can solve issues among you. Now, obviously, in a globalizing world, in a digital world, that does not apply. There are so many issues that arise during trade, and so you need to know that if I have issues because of importing or exporting or transiting or any other kind of complaint, I have to go to the particular point at regional level, right? I'm not talking about national level.
Sure.
I'm talking at regional ECOWAS level.
Yeah.
Because in Ghana, in Nigeria, in other countries, they have structures, national structures that are supposed to help provide support for traders and economic operators, either operated by government agencies or operated by civil society organizations or operated by private sector organizations that have concession in particular borders. So there are certain mechanisms that are set in place on a national level, but they do not communicate across. And so now that we are looking at integrating West Africa, we have to think and consider how we can connect countries together in order to provide the infrastructure that allows the goods and the people to move, to lower the time and the cost of moving goods across West Africa.
Indeed. You're calling for basically the simplification and harmonization of border control procedures that will truly reflect the continent's integration objectives. But the question is, how can this be realized?
Well, the implementation of the regional agreement is basically a law enforcement domain. And I believe that we have low capacity for law enforcement across West Africa, actually. Because once you have the legal structures that can launch a complaint in particular areas of trade, the international trade laws are very clear. The agreements and the commitments that various countries commit to when they sign agreements at the heads of state level or at the ministerial level in the international world in Geneva or on wherever, or in Abuja, there is a legal basis for that. Now, the interesting thing is that if you look at the ECOWAS laws, if you go through the ECOWAS laws or even the UEMA laws, Francophone countries, West Africa, you'll find that you have adequate laws. The laws specify what are the documentation, what is the procedure for moving your goods from country A to country B, what kind of documents, which kind of structures. But then when it comes to implementation, that is where various countries try to distort, either willingly or unwillingly, the market playing field in order to protect or to allow a certain exposure for locally originating goods. And that destroys the spirit of regional integration, which means stronger together. We have 15 countries in West Africa. If we are divided, we'll be conquered. And so the essence of economic integration is to put our heads together at the heads of states level and the agencies level, and to build mechanisms that reinforce the implementation of these regional laws on a national level, so that we can coordinate the movement of goods, so that we can coordinate some of the complaints coming up, whether, for example, you recall a few weeks ago, there's an ongoing debate at the Benin border, because Benin insists, for example, to levy duties on ECOWAS originating goods.
Sure.
And this is in flies flagrantly in the face of the ECOWAS laws. And the issue is not a technical issue. We can say that sometimes these are not technical issues. And so, technically speaking, there are laws and rules and regulations that are adequate enough to ensure a smooth connection of our intra-African systems, but it needs to be protected or empowered by a strong leadership on a national level and on a regional level, in order to ensure that you can provide the same kind of opportunity to whichever economic operator is coming from within the ECOWAS region. We are one in the ECOWAS region.
Indeed, Zed, we're grateful for your input there. He's National President of Borderless Alliance, helping us appreciate the current challenges regarding intra-African trade and the ease of doing business among our member states. Of course, we're grateful once again for his input.